All right, what's back to my unofficial podcast that still doesn't have a name. If you saw the last episode, welcome back. Sorry that it was just a picture because I recorded it, rendered it, and then deleted the footage, but the render messed up for some reason. Um, but we still got the audio. I guess that's the main thing. Anyway, you live and you learn. This next week's episode is about AI and about crafting your artist narrative. Um, I've been feeling quite demotivated with my music recently, and I just feel like a lot of the time that is because, you know, without a clear goal, you don't really have steps to get there. And if you don't have steps to get where you want to go or where you want to be or any idea of where you want to be, you really lose motivation and you struggle to bring yourself to do anything. You know what I mean? So I don't know what kind of brought me to do this. I guess it was just that feeling. I've been feeling that for a couple of weeks, and I just thought, heck, why don't I just ask AI to tell me or to help me figure out what it is? So this is the prompt that I wrote to it this morning. I think in order to succeed as an artist, I need to know what value I'm trying to provide. I need to be intentional with what I put out and how I angle it, aka who I'm trying to reach and why. And in order to create things that are authentic, I need to better myself and my story, better understand myself and my story. I haven't flexed my memory muscle very much, so it's difficult for me to recall a lot of details of my life. Maybe we could build a brief outline of my life to date, covering big milestones, and then break it down into details as we go or something. By the way, I'm really sorry if incorrect grammar or spelling bugs you. I was typing this really fast on my phone at work while I was working, so there will be a lot of spelling mistakes, but I try my best to read it and to make it make sense for you. So that's the initial prompt that I gave ChatGPT. I guess any other interesting context? It already knows that I'm an artist and that I have a studio called Flow State Studio. It knows the type of music I make, but we haven't really dived into deeply into things that have happened to me in my life and how that has kind of made me who I am. So yeah. And this is kind of what it spat out. It said, you need to be clear on your value, your audience, and your intention. It's foundational for both impact and sustainability. You need to build from your truth, which means understanding your story deeply, clearly, and unapologetically. Step one, build a high level life outline, milestones. And it basically gave me early years, 0 to 12, teenage, 13 to 18, early adulthood, 19 to 25, and then 25 plus, which is recent and today. Couple of questions, which we'll get into in a second. Step two, break down each era into details. Once we're happy with the high level structure, we zoom in, talk about stories, emotions, and decisions, wins and losses, influences, and how that kind of affected me. Step three, extract meaning and positioning. Once you kind of understand what has happened, you can use that to establish your core themes: underdog energy, transformation, authenticity, for example. The message, what are you trying to say? Your target audience, who needs that message most? And your artistic edge, what only you can bring because of this journey. I hear a lot about on Instagram, like your unique selling point, for a business to survive in a environment that commodifies art, which is basically like when you have high demand for something or there's a massive supply, which there is today. I think there's like 300,000 songs uploaded on Spotify every day or something ridiculous like that. Don't quote me on the exact number, but when you have such an influx of supply, content, music, blah, 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 it's going to be difficult to stand out. And the only way to stand out is to be authentically you. And to be authentically you, you need to understand who that is. And that's kind of why I'm doing this. Before I go into my next prompt or answering these questions, we'll go through the answers. So in my early years, where did you grow up? Key memories, family dynamics, school, early music, life, creative sparks, life-shaping experiences. If you want, to outline your artist journey and figure this out. Take inspiration from this. Maybe follow along with ChatGPT while you're doing this. This has helped me so much. I can't even really describe it in terms of just understanding where I'm going, what I'm trying to do, and what I get up in the morning for, which we'll kind of allude to in the beginning, later on. Where'd you grow up? Key memories. Then teenage years. Who were you becoming? Highs, lows, shifts, identity, relationships, first exposure to serious music or dreams, any formative pain or drive from this period. Early adulthood, 1925. What paths did you start exploring? Career, education, spiritual development, life challenges, major turning points, recent years. What have you become? Building intentionally. Key decisions, breakthrough, setbacks, creative evolution. Present day. Who are you today? What's your mission? Current battles, and what are you standing for now? This is what I said. From 0 to 12, grew up in a small town in New South Wales, in the New South Wales country called Withally. Had an older sister at some point, was diagnosed with Asperger's. I don't know if that's how you spell it. I think it's close. And a younger sister who was just a typical pain in the ass. Lived with mum and dad. Dad was a sharer. Mum mostly stayed at home with us for this period of time. We lived on a few acres where dad had chicken, sheep, pigs, and some dogs. My sisters and I went to Withally Public School, a school with a total of about 35 kids attending from the local areas, grades from kindergarten to year 6. I had only a couple of cousins that were boys on both sides of the family. So growing up, I was either hanging out with the girls or sitting with the adults. Music was a lot of pop music in the early 2000s. Dad listened to a lot of Nickelback, some Eminem. Mum listened to Madonna and Gwen Stefani, from what I remember. I do remember Mum saying that one of them was actually Dad. I can't remember. I think it might have been Madonna, but either way, we listened to that a lot. Outside of boredom, I played a lot of... I was just deciding if I was going to add to that, but it's really not necessary. Outside of the boredom, I played a lot of video games. Early PlayStation 2 stuff, Jack and Daxter, Need for Speed, etc. Man, love those games. As I got older, I enjoyed helping Dad with work, and also my uncle whenever they go out to farms for any kind of work. Really, that could be like playing paddocks, herding sheep, you know, a range of things. Could be anything. Can't really recall any life-altering events or creative sparks outside that. To keep my prompts somewhat short and easy to digest, I'll do it one section at a time. ChatGPT said, perfect. That's a strong grounded snapshot of your early environment, rural roots, working class values, a small community, and early exposure to both hard work and isolation in certain ways, limited peers, gender imbalance, boredom, etc. Few important threads already see emerging: responsibility and contribution from a young age, helping with farm work, creative escape through games and music, outsider energy, not fitting into typical groups, too few boys, small skew, school, etc. Early masculine role models in your dad and uncle's work ethic, emotionally quiet but formative years, no big traumas but subtle shaping. We'll come back to that, but for now, keep moving forward. I thought that was pretty accurate, pretty cool. Ages 13 to 18. Did I skip one? No, 0 to 12. Yeah, sick. Started high school in West Wyland, which meant traveling to a new-ish environment. I had done middle school there, which meant we went there once a week. I think it was every Thursday for a couple of years, or maybe 1 year. I think it might have been year 6 that we go there. So I kind of knew people, but it was still quite new when I started. Not long after I started, I can't quite remember how long, we got the news that mum and dad were breaking up. Next few years were rough, moved out with mum, lots of family drama. Started dating 3 girlfriends throughout high school. Can dig into that a bit more later on. Started playing rugby league for the town, really enjoyed that. Felt like I was pretty good, even though I didn't have to dedicate much to it. Always played handball and touch footy on cement basketball courts at school during lunch, burned through countless shoes in doing so. This was also the case during my primary school years. It was a larger school, which meant I had more friends. As I reached the end of high school, around 18, the family driver passed its worst, got my license so I could drive myself around, started to do quite well in school. This was towards the end, like last year especially. Graduated and then left to study engineering in Wollongong. ChatGPT said, solid. Seen some pivotal moments. First, emotional rupture, the parental split, instability and relocation, athletic confidence, resilience and self-drive kicking in later with licensed independent school performance, start of romantic relationships, always worth unpacking for emotional development and self-image, transition to city life and higher education. Wollongong marks your first major leap away from Small Town World. When we dig deeper, we'll unpack things like how the breakup shaped you on relationships, masculinity, or control. Did sport provide structure or escape? What was the internal story during this time? How'd you feel? Not just what you did, but you're doing this right. Let's keep going. Sick. From 19 to 25, started studying engineering, really exciting and engaging, hanging out with friends, freedom, enjoying crafting my own lane in the beginning, although I was living in a share house pretty much alone. Got pretty depressed, I think, especially when people were busy or away for holidays. I discovered it around 16 and had I discovered, I think podcasts was supposed to be in there. Self-development. Was going to the uni gym and working out, enjoyed that process, played a lot of video games still. Then a few years in, as our friend group started to do different subjects and specialize, I started to lose passion. I'd moved off campus, was in a committed relationship that slowly fizzled and exploded. That was a little bit later, I think. Got super depressed, went on medication in and around then sometime. Yeah, we'll go into that a bit later. This was in and around figuring myself out and the self-development. I did my first attempt of 75 hard that I didn't make it through. Then COVID happened, which allowed me to find my feet. The world stopped and I could focus on what I enjoyed doing. I just started making music and YouTube videos. Once uni came back after that, I really lost interest. It was all distance, and I think after COVID at some point was when that relationship actually ended. I'm not sure how long after, or the timeline's kind of fuzzy on my mind, but yeah. A couple of years later, I slowly fell more in love with the idea of making music my career. I quit uni. Kira moved in as my roommate, who is now my girlfriend. I completed 75 hard and inspired her to do it with me. I did a 70.3 Ironman. I worked a lot on my music and discovering my sound, both as a producer and an artist. She took me skiing for the first time. We moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment for a year together. Then we moved to Fairlight with the parents, which is where we're still at now. But a small warehouse studio space in Brookvale, and now I have a bigger, better one in DY where I think I can make it a business I'd love to work on. That's not even a half of it, man. It's crazy when you reflect to see how much you've done and been through. Exactly, and that last you said, it's not even the half of it. That's the goal, because the external story, uni breakups, career switches, gym studio, is only the surface. The real material is under that. Resilience through loneliness, evolving identity from student, artist, from self-doubt to leadership. Transformation, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, choosing purpose over the safe path. This is where this is a cool part. This is where the artist value emerges, not just in what you've done, but how you've processed and grew through it. You've built character through adversity, and now you've got the real tools to pass on. You've done beautifully in these summaries so far. Now we're ready for present day. What were you building? What are you struggling with? What you're standing for? And what's your deeper mission right now? Right now, I'm trying again to redefine and clarify exactly what I'm doing, because I have a few options up in the air. The studio thing could really grow to encompass everything, which means potentially stepping back as an artist to focus on being a producer and helping other people, which could be the option that is most tangibly possible, potentially less scalable then if I figure out exactly who I am as an artist and are able to target a specific avatar to help them become successful that way. The reality is, I think a mix of both is what I want. I just don't know exactly how I want it to look and how I could make it work. Because right now I'm struggling with focus and consistency to gain momentum in any specific vertical. I know to have the most success, you need to focus on one thing, but I can't figure out how it looks. I feel the deeper mission is to inspire people to follow their own path in their own way, and the only way I can do that is if I crush my own path. But I still don't really know what that path is. Haha. Still have a lot of doubt, but also at the same time, I have this unwavering belief that if I stick to it, I will make it happen. Thankfully, because I've shown myself that from what I've done and what I've been through in the past. It doesn't make total sense, but it's what ChatGPT said. This is the most real and honest space to be in, the in-between, where clarity is still forming, but belief is strong. And you're absolutely right. Focus builds success, but authenticity builds legacy. That's what takes time to crystallize. You're not lost, you're redefining. What I'm seeing clearly is you've proven you can suffer forward. You're not afraid of reinvention. You have both a vision and skill. You're just calibrating where to apply them with full force. And like, it's kind of crazy how good it is at understanding the underlying like truths and values of what you're saying. At this point, I was all in. I loved it. This is so good. Here's what's next. Now you have a life story scaffolded. We can zoom in on any chapter, extract key emotions, moments, lessons, turning points, start pulling out themes, identity, resilience, transformation, loyalty, independence, ambition, masculinity, love, etc. Shape your artist philosophy and value proposition from that. Use all that to define your brand voice, your ideal audience, your content direction, your music, themes, and narratives. Let me know where you'd like to go next. I said I'm not entirely sure. They all sound like good options. Breaking these are the options it gave me. I should say that before I answer. Want to break down one era in more detail? Question mark. Want to extract your core themes and identity? Question mark. Want help crafting a high level artist mission vision statement? And then I answered, yeah, I'm not too sure they're all good options. Break it down further. Number one, break down one era in detail. Good if you're unsure who you are as an artist. We go deep in your phase of life. Mind it for key stories, emotions you haven't fully unpacked, beliefs that shaped you, messages you wish you had then. This reminded me of I'm reading a book right now. I think it's called The Practice by Seth Godin. And he says that creativity or just any creative idea comes from understanding the past in a new light. I'm butchering that, but it's like rediscovering the past or recontextualizing it to understand it better, rediscovering a new truth, which is like synthesizing something from the things you've been through. And then the third one, oh man, can I remember? It was something about the past, present, and future. It's about maybe this last one is a struggle you're going through right now. That would make sense to me. Number two, we'll go back to this. Extract core themes and brand identity. This is something I wanted to do eventually, but I didn't know whether we had done enough digging at this point. Only good if you're ready to define your sound message. We analyze your life pool recurring patterns. Blah, blah, blah. Number three, create an artist mission vision statement. Good if you want long-term clarity and creative alignment. And that sounded good to me because this is, like I said in the beginning, kind of the reason I went into this to begin with. So I asked, if we had enough, do we have enough to do artist mission and vision statement, or should we keep digging? And it said, you've already given enough depth to build a strong draft, artist mission and vision, one that reflects your truth at current stage while leaving space to evolve. Let's break it down so you're clear on the difference. Artist mission, what you do plus why it matters. Artist vision, where you're going and what you stand for long term. And then it just gave a couple of examples. And then it said, it's hard for me to connect to such a short, vague paragraph. Maybe it's only because we haven't refined it. So what's the purpose of each of these again? Is it for me or is it so I can tell others what I'm about? And then it said what they're for. Number one, for you, clarity, focus, and direction. These statements give you a compass to make decisions. For example, should I take this gig, drop this song, post this content, which is something I've been struggling with a lot, especially with the content. Captions are really difficult for me to figure out, and hooks, like how do I contextualize and package what I've already made to make it resonate with the people it's supposed to resonate with, and then even backtrack that further with which song do I drop? How do I choose what songs I'm going to make? And then even further back in the creative process, what songs do I choose to make? What do I want to write about? What vibes do I want to make? What do I want to talk about, discover, all that good stuff, you know what I mean? It also helps you focus when you feel lost and overwhelmed. Exactly. A reminder of why you're doing this, especially when motivation is low. Like I was talking about before. That's great. Great stuff. Number two, for others. So it's essentially for both me and for others. But for others, positioning, identity, connection, they also become your elevator pitch when someone asks, what's your music about? It's for your bio, press kit, website blurb, and social media voice. Also a tool to attract the right fans, collaborators, clients, and supporters. It's how the world understands and connects to you, especially new listeners who haven't heard a single track yet. This See, it's just spitting facts right now. I love this shit. You know what I mean? I really struggle when someone asks me, like, oh, what type of music do you make? Or like, who are your inspirations? I really struggle with that, those kind of answers. So if I can figure out an elevator pitch, as it said there, like an artist mission and an artist, what did they call it? A mission and a vision. Sounds really good. I think I struggle more with the mission than the vision because it's really easy for me to, well, when I say vision, I mean like what I want my life to look like materially, but not necessarily like specific material things, like what I want to have or what studio I want to work in and those kinds of things, but not like big overarching things that will actually point me in the right direction or inform the decisions that I make right now, essentially. Why it feels vague right now is just general. It's not using your language or real imagery, and it's summarizing instead of a feeling, which is, I agree. And then it says, let's rebuild it in your words, raw draft first. And then it gave me 5 questions. Number 1, if someone was struggling in the same place you used to be, what would you want them to hear? I'm just going to go question answer for each of them. So for that question, I said, I don't know what I'd want them to hear or what I'd say. Outside of the fact that even if you do nothing and sit there, everything is temporary and it will change. It might take longer and it might change in a way that you don't prefer. I meant to say that you don't prefer if you do nothing, but you have the power to make progress. Truth bombs. Question 2, do you want someone to what do you want someone to feel after listening to your music or working with you? I said inspired, excited, self-aware, capable, present. Like they have like they can create the life they want. And then I said not sure if that works. Question number 3, what kind of person do you refuse to be or refuse to let your audience become? I really like this question because oftentimes if you invert, you can gain more clarity and it's a lot easier to think about the inverse than the other way up. Anyway, I said closed-minded or victims because I just feel like victim mindset is like the cancer of today's society, you know what I mean? If you think you're the victim and what's happening to you is everyone else's fault, you're never going to improve your life. You have no power to because you're giving the power away. When you blame someone, you're giving the power away to them and you can't actually reserve any power for yourself to change it. You know what I mean? So that's why I say closed-minded or victims. Question number 4. What do you believe separates you from other artists and producers? I really struggle with this question because I feel like technically anything you say, someone else out there would have those qualities as well, but I just leaned into what can be my strengths. So I said I take responsibility. If it's not working, it's my fault and there's something I need to learn or change. Extreme Ownership was a book I read by Jocko Willink, misspelled that again, that really shaped that. Very true. Great book. If you haven't read it, highly recommend. Question 5, what's the change you're trying to make in people or in culture through this work? And I said, trying to empower people to love and embrace the work it takes to become the person that attracts the life that is truly fulfilling in the most profound way. That's a mouthful, but it's true. Then ChatGPT replied with, I hope this is engaging. It's fun for me to even look back at it after I did it earlier today. Which is good because sometimes I have these conversations and I go back and read them later and I'm like, yeah, this isn't actually as like profound as I thought it was, but I feel like this is really important. Anyway, ChatGPT said, this is exactly what we need, raw, reflective, and uniquely yours. These answers reveal a powerful truth at the core of your artistry. You're not just here to inspire people to dream, you're here to equip them to become. That resonates with me. You're blending emotional realism with radical responsibility. Cool words. And then it gave me some drafts and I said, So what's the practical difference between the mission and the vision? Because I still wasn't too sure. And it said, it gave me this table. The mission in terms of focus is what you do now and why, and the vision is what you're building towards and why. And in terms of time frame, the mission is present and short term, and the vision is future and long term. In terms of purpose, the mission guides your daily actions and messaging, and the vision guides your bigger picture strategy and legacy. The mission, in terms of tone, is concrete, immediate, and problem solving, and the vision is aspirational, world changing, and legacy driven. The mission is used for bio, pitching, marketing, content direction, and the vision is strategic planning, growth decisions, investor, and supporter alignment. Think of it like this: your mission is your current role and responsibility, and the vision is your North Star. And then it used a real world example, which I thought was really cool. Kendrick Lamar and Nipsey Hussle. Kendrick's mission is to use, well, as far as ChatGPT is concerned, is to use storytelling and lyricism to reflect the struggles of and truths of Black America. The vision is to shift the cultural and spiritual consciousness of a generation. Nipsey Hussle, to inspire and support self-made entrepreneurs through music and business. The vision is to build systems that uplift entire communities from within. Pretty cool. And then it said, you, as it's shaping up, mission. Use music and content to help people take responsibility, gain clarity, and transform themselves from the inside out, starting now. Vision. Create a movement of self-led transformation through artistry and platforms like Flow State Studio that help people become who they were born to be. I like it. And then I said, okay, let's perfect the mission and vision. And this is what it came out with. My artist mission. I create music, content, and environments that help people take ownership of their lives, to realize even when things feel stuck or overwhelming, they have the power to change. My mission is to inspire clarity, presence, and purpose through raw self-expression and high standards. High standards, it's one of my songs. That's kind of cool. I'm here to give people the tools, belief, and mindset to build the life they want, not just dream it. So many bugs, bro. Love it. Love it. Sounds good. And then the vision, future focused. To build a movement, to build a movement of self-led transformation through music, storytelling, and creative platforms that empower people to fall in love with the work it takes to become who they're meant to be. I want to shift culture away from victimhood and towards personal responsibility, creative power, and inner freedom. Whether through my art or through Flow State Studio, my long-term vision is to help people become the kind of person who attracts a life that's deeply fulfilling. Facts! Yes! You know what I'm saying? Why this vision works. Yeah, whatever. Not that interested in that stuff. And then it asks, would you want this to be turned into a visual for your wall or socials, etc.? Want help adapting this to into a studio version 2, or want to workshop your artist identity, name, visuals, tones based on this foundation next? I said, can we do 3? It said, yeah. Ask us a couple questions. The visuals that it gave me, I think, are meh, but the Flow State Studio version of the mission and vision is quite good. And then this artist identity stuff we'll get into after, which is also sick. But the Flow State Studio one is we, as in Flow State Studio, the business, the conglomerate, the community. We help artists unlock their potential by creating music and content that's raw, impactful, and deeply authentic. Flow State Studio exists to give independent artists the tools, environment, and support to take full ownership of their craft. From recording and production to content and creative direction, it's a space designed to raise standards, eliminate excuses, and help artists grow into who they're meant to be. Flow State Studio vision, future focused. To build more than a studio, a creative ecosystem and cultural environment that empowers artists to become self-led, self-aware, and self-made. Our long-term vision is to evolve into a multidisciplinary hub that blends music, content, wellness, and education. A space where artists don't just create but transform. From world-class music to mindset development, we're here to shift the culture towards excellence, responsibility, and purpose. I don't think I actually read that one. That one's sick. I like that last time. I copy and pasted these into my notes to be able to reference them in future. But I think if I can like memorize those to a degree and then, edit them if need be, or just have them on hand so I can see them easily, it'd be really dope. Maybe I could print it out and put it on the wall. The mission and the vision. That would be cool. Maybe I should make a note to do that. I'm gonna do that right now. This is gonna take me a second. 1 second. I don't think I have time tomorrow. I'll make time to do it on Saturday. Here we go. Print, flow state, mission, and vision statements, and put on back of door. Boost lad. Okay. And then I went core themes and brand pillars. Core themes: self-ownership, transformation, discipline is freedom, masculinity and emotional depth, from stuck to self-led. I didn't really like that as much. So we worked on that in the next section. But the tone of voice and messaging style of my breezy account or message or personal brand, whatever you want to call it, grounded and direct, no sugarcoating, inspired without fluff, masculine but self-aware, occasionally raw or poetic, especially in music. And it said, want it sharper? We can define your do's and don'ts, which I said, yeah, sounds good. We'll get into that in a second. Number 3, visual identity, aesthetic direction. It said we can do that to later build out a mood board, but that's one thing that I think ChatGPT isn't so good at, is the visual art aspect for now. So what it generated wasn't very good, but with that in mind, I didn't give it as much thought or attention as the other parts. So maybe if you're more interested in that, you can like dive into it a little bit deeper, but I did not. For that reason, I got average results. It's all good. Number 4, target audience persona. Who are you speaking to through all this? Initial draft persona: young men 18 to 30 who feel stuck, lost, or unmotivated. Maybe they're in a job degree they hate, dealing with mental health battles, or lost their spark. They know they're meant for more but can't seem to break through. They don't want a fake hype. They want truth, structure, inspiration, and something real to believe in. Sounds good to me. And number 5, artist name. Your current name, Breezy, works. Good to know. Thanks, ChatGPT. If you want a deeper tagline or phrase that travels with your brand, like Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly era or Nipsey Hussle's The Marathon, here are a few ideas rooted in your mission. And it said self-made soul, which I thought was sick. And then from nothing, full stop, on purpose, which I think is sick as well. The other one's not so much, but those two were sick. And then I gave it a little bit of feedback, and this is the redefined core themes it gave me. It says self-mastery over self-pity. Life is hard. You can either blame or build. I like that. Transformation through action. Change doesn't happen by thinking about it. You have to move. Facts. Discipline equals power. Most people avoid the work. You live in it. Love it. Strong on the surface, deep underneath. Masculinity isn't loud, it's solid. Fair. Becoming who you're meant to be, not just successful, aligned, fulfilled, and free. It really put an emphasis on masculinity, which I thought was interesting and not something that I really thought about. And the fact that it like kind of stood out to me reminded me, or like made me think of the fact that it stood out to me. I'm like, why is that? And I think it is because like my dad and my uncle, and like I guess a guy I went and saw, who I was talking about in Point of No Return, who I haven't seen in ages. Those are the 3 male influences that probably had the biggest influence on me that I knew personally. Like there's a bunch of people's podcasts I listen to and stuff who I feel like influenced me a lot, in books I read, but I never really thought about masculinity as a thing and like my relationship with it, because it's like connotations and stigma around it is kind of like weird from what I've seen anyway. So yeah, I don't know what I was going to say about that, but yeah, the do's and don'ts of tone and voice. Do speak with directness and clarity. Use language that's inspiring but grounded. Share your process, not just results. Let people see the build. That's something that really stood out to me. Sharing the process, let people see the build. It's something that I want to lean into more behind the scenes, more gritty, less polished. Because I feel like I can fall into the trap when I'm ideating or just thinking about making a content or even a song of like, if it's not going to be like, if I can't imagine it's going to be good before I make it, I won't make it. And that's just a paralyzing place to be in. You know what I mean? The next point was own your setbacks and frame them as lessons or fuel. I really like that as well. And that gave me a lot of content ideas of things I'm struggling with right now. Be unfiltered, but never sloppy or aimless. True. Be masculine in presence and responsibility, not just image. Again, on the masculinity. That's interesting. Don't overhype or exaggerate your wins. Facts. Talk down to your audience. Speak to them like brothers, not followers. That's something that I thought about for a minute as well. Like, how do I speak to them like brothers if I haven't had a brother? Like, I don't really know what that looks like, so I had to really think about it. And the conclusion I came to was just like, I don't know. I just contextualize it as speak authentically, I guess. Speak how you normally speak. It said don't use fake positivity or hustle culture cliches. I don't think I usually do stuff like that, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I do. Something to think about. Pretend you've made it, quote unquote. The grind is your brand. That's something that I really resonated with and thought about. Like, immediately my mind went to, when I make it, what's my brand going to be? And I just, like, it'll just change. You know what I mean? But I really like that. The grind is your brand. Over explains power is in simplicity. I tend to do that sometimes, I think. And I'll probably need more practice in that and moving forward. Yeah. I need to sneeze, I think. Don't know. Number 3, visual identity. It gave me 5 questions. When people see your content art, what are 3 words that come to mind? Sorry, I'm just figuring out where we are because I don't want to. Oh no, I think we're nearing towards the end. Because at some point it trailed off and we started talking about content strategy and stuff, which I feel like is less applicable to most people and it'd be more beneficial if you did this for yourself and kind of went down your own rabbit holes. But I think this is still pretty good. Yeah, the visual identity questions. It says, when people see your content art, what 3 words should come to mind? And I said, I like raw, focused, and calm, because that was some of the words that it gave as an example. Question 2, what are some objects and symbols that represent your journey or mindset? E.g. chains, wolves, bubbles, barbells, clocks, desert roads, fire, broken mirrors. And I said, I've used a clock in an album cover art. There's been fire and many other cover arts for singles. And I used the moon a bunch and toyed with the idea of broken mirrors, but it may be too dramatic. Number 3, do you see your aesthetic as more urban, modern, nature-based, gym-like, spiritual? Can be a blend. I said I didn't really like the modern gritty look. Maybe something more simplistic, bold, but not too blunt. And then it said, what are 1 to 2 artist brands whose visuals resonate with you, even outside music? And I said I like Gymshark for its polished simplicity and Alex Hormozi's raw personal brand. I also, like, afterwards I thought about what were some other brands that I really like. I like Tom Nosk. He has, I don't know if anyone's familiar with him. His content and visual style is quite luxurious almost, which I really like. What are some other brands? I thought of them and now I've forgotten them again, but anyway. Number 5, how do you want people to feel when they look at your profile, studio, or artwork? And I said confident, a quiet, infinite energy. And it said, sounds good. And then next, based on what you've just outlined, I delivered 2 things for you: a visual identity board and a starter content guide. And this is, I think, where I'm going to end it, because I don't know. You don't really need to know heaps of the behind the scenes of the content strategy, and I think it's cool to keep it a little bit of a secret. I think this is helpful for, maybe just to finish it off, the content pillars: artist identity, behind the scenes of becoming, set shifts through music, how music reflects your journey. Then it says personal philosophy, short form truth bombs, lessons from your story, extreme ownership, examples, motivation without cliches. And it says studio and craft, social proof and insight, before and after mixes, vocal production breakdowns, helping other artists find their sound. And then real talk, connection, and depth, stories from when you were stuck or lost. Here's what I needed to hear back then, style posts, and documenting inner work, gym habits, etc. And then it goes about how you can create hooks and ideas, content templates from that. But yeah, that's like the conversation I had with ChatGPT earlier today. It really helped me to define my artist direction, mission, and vision. I thought it was really helpful. I hope you guys got something out of it. If you did, stick the whole way through. Really appreciate it if you did. I'm hoping to do this weekly. So hopefully I'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging around. And yeah, let me know in the comments or DM me on Instagram if you need any help with this, how you went with it, if you tried it, if you didn't, if you even care about this type of content. Any feedback is appreciated. Thank you. And I'll see you next week, maybe. Peace.